We've already looked at extrusion, so in this video I'd like to look at another form of extrusion called Inset. Now, Inset has a very simple hotkey, and that is just I. If we tab into edit mode, we can also hit Control F for faces. And you'll see we have Inset faces with the hotkey of I. So we can get to it either way from there. Now, let's, well, we have everything selected on this cube, so that's fine. Let's do I and see what happens. Not much, it's kind of weird. It doesn't really work when you have the entire mesh selected because Blender really doesn't know what to do with it. So let's go ahead and make sure we're in face mode, and I'm just going to select one face. Now I'm going to hit I. And I want you to note that I'm keeping my cursor away from the center here, and that'll be relevant in a second, because it's kind of like using a scale tool. And we can decide how far we want to inset exactly along that flat face without it protruding or going in at all. And then we can just left click to end that operation, which works very nicely. Now, we have a few tools over here when we do this, and this can get kind of funky on us. Typically, you'll have boundary and offset even by default. And what we have to do is do an inset operation, change whatever we like, and then if it wasn't done the way we wanted, we kind of have to redo it. But I'll show you what's going on in a second. We'll get out of there. And we will hit Inset. And see, this is where I didn't get very far away, so I can't do much of an inset. But that's okay. We can also enter numeric values while we're still in the middle of this. So if I did, say, 0.2, it would give me an exact value. Now, most of the use for inset is to make sure that we're creating, literally an inset, along a flat face. In this example, the first thing that would come to mind would be making a crate. But we can alter the depth after the fact. And we can push that out or push it in if we so desire. So it's just handy to know that that's there. Alright, well this was our default cube. So I'm going to tab out of this and I'm going to select another cube I've put in that I've subdivided once, so we can get a little bit better picture of what's going on. Now, we just did an inset with a single face. We can do insets on multiple faces at once. For example, a corner is a great place to create a multiple face inset. So I'll select these three corners and we will hit I. And we can scale that in. You see it's kind of funky, because our offset even is unchecked from before when we were playing around. So if we check that, then we get a nice even one. And then we can adjust the threshold as necessary. Now we have a very nice even inset, and we could easily extrude this and scale it down, or just scale it down from here if we wanted. And you can start to get some very cool geometric shapes, which is really awesome for things like buildings, sci-fi stuff. But we do have a couple of other ones that we can play with, so I'm going to spin around here. This time I'm going to select multiple faces on one side and do an inset, which is fine for now. We'll just finish that operation, but I'm going to come down here and I'm going to tick individual. Now we get the exact same inset across each face. Now we'll play with inset, like so many of these other tools, a lot more as we go through labs and get deeper into learning. But Inset's a very handy tool. It's easily accessed by the obvious hotkey I. and you'll get the chance to play around with it a lot. Now, we won't do a quiz because, well, basically what you need to know is the hotkey I. But I would like you guys to go through and just play with some of these settings and just get a feel for what it does. Find out what outset does. Find out what select outer does. I can give you a little hint. Outset you'll have to do at the time. But it's a handy little tool that you'll end up using quite a bit, especially if you're doing environmental modeling. So I just wanted you to have some base familiarity with it. And we'll revisit it again later. Alright, we're going to move into a few more videos before we get to our lab. So let's get going. I'll see you there.